All right. Well, thank you. That was a lot of fun. Oh, was that me? All right. Did I do that? I think I'm doing that. Is that not going to explode now? All right.
It might.
Nice. Well, now that we had this great kind of fun moment, and then I just messed it up with my mic. So, thank you. It's been a fun, long, busy day, packed full of all kinds of stuff. Thank you. It's been a lot of fun seeing all you guys interacting with each other. I actually took a couple of pictures of you guys today, sent it off to a guy named Carson. Carson does a lot of work with this kind of district of youth group and churches. And I said, man, you've got some amazing churches up in this western South Dakota and Wyoming area. And so he was so excited to hear about what you guys are doing and everything. I got to tell you, I've got this line up here. It says, moving from typical to God-powered friendships. Tonight, I'm going to encourage you. I'm going to challenge you a little bit to say, would you help your youth group move beyond just typical friendships and move into more of a God-empowered friendship? Okay? I want you to just take a second right now, just right where you're at. 30-second prayer. I just ask God, am I ready? God, would you be able to use me to help my youth group go from a typical friendship to God-empowered friendship? So real quick, just quietly on your own, 30 seconds, go. Amen. The reason why I want you to do that is because I've seen a number of youth groups or small groups within youth groups that have either really struggled to break past just this typical friendship kind of thing, and then I've watched the ones that have done the hard work and said, let's move to these God-empowered kind of friendships. One of my most amazing stories was we had a group of middle school girls. They came up through 7th and 8th grade with us. The summer between 8th grade year and freshman year, the girls decided they didn't like their small group leader anymore. And they didn't want her coming with them to high school. And basically what was happening was during middle school, the small group leader went, okay, I think you guys are telling me that you want to follow God together as a small group of girls. Is that right? And they said, yes. Okay, as your small group leader, I'd like to help you with that. And they said, yes. And then she started helping them with that, and they went, no, thank you. And she's just going, well, wait a minute. I want to help you walk with God. And these girls, the summer between 8th grade year and 9th grade year, started a little mini revolt. Actually, mini is not the right word for it. It became pretty kind of crazy. There was a couple of times where Rachel and I are sitting down in Culver's with a small group leader and a couple of girls, and we're trying to figure things out and walk through things, and we kind of ended up looking at them and went, tough. She's coming up to high school with you. And it was a rough road that freshman year. But I got to tell you something. That small group leader and those girls stuck with it. And they figured it out. And that small group leader kept being consistent and saying, I love you girls, and I love Jesus, and I'm going to walk with you. And there's a couple other girls in that small group went, yeah, I get that. I see that. And they started to turn that corner. And I'm going to be honest with you, not all those girls in that small group have really ever said, yeah, I want to follow God. But the amazing thing happened is they pushed through that difficult spot. That group of girls, they've actually all graduated from college now. Some of them have their own little kids. That small group leader has a single mom with 2 boys. She never had any daughters. Many of these gals have asked her to be a part of their weddings. That group of girls, most of them are following Jesus. Some of them aren't. but all of them are still connecting together as friends. So here you have this small group leader and these gals who love Jesus and are following Jesus and are saying, we're going to be friends who follow Jesus together, even if you don't want to follow Jesus. I am, so I'm going to bring Jesus along with us in our friendship. And so here, like 8, 9, 10 years later, they're still working and living and figuring that kind of thing out. And it's because this small group leader and a few girls in her small group said, yeah, let's move beyond typical friendships into this God-empowered friendships. And even the girls that are still wrestling with what does a faith with God look like, they're still saying, there's something unique about the friendships here that I want to still be a part of, even though I'm still trying to figure out this whole God thing. That's my hope and dream for you, is for you to begin to have some deep, long-lasting friendships with other people that are God-empowered. I come back to this word called intercede. It's this great one another command. It says intercede for one another. To intercede means to come to meet your friend. Let me start that. Intercede means to meet your friend's needs by asking God to care for them. And this includes praying with and for each other. There's this amazing passage that gives this picture of interceding. It's not necessarily prayer, but they're kind of living out a prayerful heart, a prayerful dependence. And so I want you to see this. And we're like my middle school guys. Okay, this story is for you. Okay, because I've had a few middle school guys up on the roof of the grade school I work at. You'll see in a minute. Mark chapter 2. Jesus is at a house. Word gets out that he's at this house. It's jam-packed. There's a group of friends that go, hey, we have a buddy who needs some help, and we know Jesus can help him. It says some men came. When it says men, I'm convinced these are middle school guys, because what they're about to do, some men came bringing him a paralyzed man, carried by 4 of them. I picture like one of these like camping cots. That's probably not what it was, but you know what I mean? One at each corner. Their buddy's been paralyzed. We don't know how. We don't know why. It's just, this is the situation. They're carrying him up to this house. It's jam-packed. They can't get in. There's no way they're getting in. But that doesn't stop them. They're middle school guys. Since they could not get to him, they could not get him to Jesus because of the crowd, they made an opening of the roof above Jesus by digging through it and then lowering. Okay, wait a second. I mean, these guys go, no, our friend needs to be in the presence of God. So they get up on the roof. Now, they hauled their buddy up on the roof and start digging through the roof. Okay, I don't know if like the owner of the house is in there, but if he's sitting there and going, why is this dust and dirt falling on my head? I'm looking up and seeing a 7th grade guy sticking his head. We need the hole bigger. Fred won't fit through, right? Could you imagine being in that room? Like at some point, everybody had to stop and just kind of look up and go, what are you doing? Will you knock it off? This is a serious moment. And these 4 guys, determined to help their friend encounter God, dig a hole in the roof and then lower him down, right? Now, if there wasn't room for them to get in, what's going on as this guy's getting lowered down through the ceiling? Like, who gets shoved out the door so there could be room? But all of a sudden, I'll stop moving. Man. There is a whole lot going on in this one little verse. The depth of that statement is crazy. Jesus sees these 4 little middle schoolers up on a roof digging a hole in it. Okay, they're probably not middle schoolers, but you get my idea. And he looks at these 4 and he goes, because you love your friend so much that you're willing to intercede for them, for him, his sins are forgiven. What? What? This is an unbelievable picture. The people in the room are like, what'd you just say? Now Jesus, has some fun here, and he goes, okay, if you don't think I can forgive sins, okay, why don't you just get up and walk out the door? And the guy gets up and walks out the door to prove that what Jesus said was true. James 5:16. The earnest prayer of a righteous person has great power and produces wonderful results. To the person next to you, real quick, what jumps to your brain when you see this? Go. Okay, pause. Is it hard to put your own picture in that verse? Like, honestly. The earnest prayer of a righteous person, who comes to your mind? Not out loud, but just who comes to your mind when you hear the word righteous person? Is it a picture of you looking in the mirror? It should be. Guys, this is talking about you. If you are a follower of Christ, this is you. Like, seriously. I know we read this and we go, that's somebody else. No, that's you. Your prayer. The earnest prayer of you is powerful and effective. It produces wonderful results. I get it. At times, this is a hard verse for me to think, okay, God, that's about somebody else. That's not about me. But no. God's saying, if you are a follower of Christ, this is about you. I've been taught more about prayer from middle schoolers than anybody else. I'll never forget one of the very first missions trips I ever took a group of students on. Rachel and I weren't married yet. I was a youth pastor in Colorado. She was working with a youth group in Minnesota. I had 7th and 8th graders, and she had kids that just graduated from 8th grade going to 9th grade. And we said, hey, we're dating, doing the long distance thing. Why don't we do a mission trip together? So we met up in Mississippi in the middle of July. And I got to tell you, these middle school kids from Denver, Colorado, who'd never experienced humidity before in their life, that was hilarious. I had one kid come up to me going, I think I'm sick. There's something wrong. I might need to go see a doctor. Okay, what's wrong? I'm having a hard time breathing. It's all right, dude. It's called humidity. You're fine. Like, you've never experienced this before. You'll be okay. The mosquitoes terrified them. Now, we were doing backyard Bible club, kind of vacation Bible school kind of thing at a park. We show up on a Sunday night just to kind of check out the park. There's a little playground thing. There's like no shelter at all. July, Mississippi. And we're like, ooh, this is going to be hot. There's a couple of kids there. And we said, hey, tomorrow we're going to come. We're going to do some games and do a Bible story. It would be great if you came. If you know any kids that want to come, that'd be awesome. We're planning on showing up early the next day so we could kind of walk around the neighborhood and invite people and stuff. So we show up early. We're driving down the road in our two 15-passenger vans. No joke, a block from the park, there's like 20 kids sitting on the side of the road just waiting for us. Game on, guys, go. Like, no time to set up. Just because they've started following the vans. The police actually showed up going, two vans just pulled up in a neighborhood and all these kids are following. What's going on? It's okay, we know this. And we had to do some explaining. And they're like, oh, okay, you're with them. Yeah, no big deal. They start playing the games. You know what the kids did? All right, guys, time for the Bible study. You know what the kids from the neighborhood had said? No, thanks. What do? No, thanks. They wouldn't come. It started downpouring, like buckets of water downpouring. We had laid a tarp out on the ground as a place just to kind of gather together. All of a sudden, us leaders just pick up the tarp. We start tying it onto one van. We found a broom in one van, so one leader stood in the middle of the thing, just holding a broom. We look at the kids and go, you're on, Bible story, because none of these kids want to stand out in the rain. So they were underneath this tarp as we're holding it up, trying to figure out how to tie it onto the van and get everything going. They made it through all the Bible story. They did the verse. They did the snack time. They did all this stuff. And they're like, what do we do? We're like, well, I don't know. Do the verse again. They did the verse again, and it stopped raining. So we said, okay, walk the kids home. And then we walked the kids home. That night we're debriefing, and the kids are all going, that was so awesome. I can't believe it rained. And the kids came, and then we did our thing, and then it stopped, and then we got to take them home. That was cool. And there's this 9th grade girl who is a very quiet kid, sitting in the corner being extra quiet. And we go, okay, Heather, what's up? Why are you so quiet? And she goes, I don't know, just last night I just felt like God saying, you should be praying that it would rain. And we all go, wait, you what? She's like, yeah, so last night I was praying that it would rain. It didn't make any sense, but I just thought God wanted me to pray that it would rain. And we're all like, that was so awesome, let's do it again. And I'm like, I don't think it works that way. But it worked that way. No joke. Every single day, we'd pull up to this little park. We'd pull up our vans. We'd tie the tarp to the tops of the vans. The kids would go play games. When it was time for games to be done, it would start raining. They'd come in, they'd do their Bible story, they would finish up, and they'd walk the kids home as it stopped raining. All week long. And we watched these middle school kids praying, going, God, it doesn't make any sense. I've learned more about prayer through you guys than anybody else. There's something amazing that happens when you go to God on behalf of someone else. 1 Timothy 2:1. I urge you, first of all, to pray for all people. Ask God to help them, intercede on their behalf, and give thanks for them. This is an awesome verse. If you started to own this, that would be amazing. And say, God, I'm just going to make it a habit of praying for other people and thanking God for them. Philippians 1:3. Every time I think of you, I give thanks to my God. I had a group of middle schoolers read this verse and went, oh, this is too fun. Every time I think of you, I give thanks to God. Thanksgiving turkey, right? You see how our brains work? Yeah, so they just started to say, all right, so they would see each other in school and just say, turkey, and then just keep on walking. Yeah. Where does that come from? They had this little thing of going, hey, when I see you, when God puts you on my mind, I'm going to just say a quick little prayer, thank God for you. And, I'm going to let you know it, so I'm going to message you real quick. I'm just going to send you a pic of a turkey. right? I'm gonna, if I see you in the hallway, I'm gonna let that be a trigger to me to say, hey, God, thank you for my friend, Turkey. It was hilarious. It doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be this like super spiritual adult. It can be you. What does it look like for you to pray for all people? Ask God to help them and intercede on their behalf and give thanks for them. What does that look like for you to do that? And to let them know that you're doing that. Real quick, look at your notes. Because I'll be honest with you, and I'm going to do this really fast because we got something else we want to do. Sometimes prayer, here's the hurdles that I run into with prayer. I don't always know what to say. You ever been there? Yeah. Speaking out loud. You ever been there? Yeah. I'm not sure if this is really doing anything. You ever been there? Those are my hurdles. And I'm guessing they're probably yours as well. And so tonight, I've got a few things here that I just want to go, well, let's help each other. It's just like any kind of thing where you're starting to learn for the first time and you're building up those muscles and you're kind of learning, figuring things out. I've got some tools for you, some things that might help you. That first top one, I don't know how to pray. I don't know what to say. Just this little acronym for pray, right? Praise. Give thanks to God as you walk through your day. Repent, right? That's that aligning that cup underneath, right? That's saying, God, I want my heart to reflect your heart. And saying, God, is there anything in me that's keeping me from experiencing and knowing and walking with you, right? Asking, that interceding, bringing our requests to God. He wants us to share our hearts with him. That's what friends do, right? But then there's also that yielding. Saying, God, I am going to bring my cup underneath your waterfall. And I will follow you and follow your lead step by step. There's some verses there too that you could pull out and read through. This bottom chunk here, this disciple maker's prayer, this would be a great challenge for you. To say, hey, every day, I'm going to read through this prayer. This is I'm aligning my heart with God's heart kind of prayer to saying, God, I want to walk with you. And as I walk through this day and you bring people across my path, help me to love them the way you love them, is basically what this is saying here. A great way to begin to have that prayer as a dialogue with God. The other page. 14 days of prayer. This would be a great thing for you before you leave this weekend, maybe on the road home. Look at each other, go, all right, what day? What day do you want me to go? And they'll say 11, because that's my favorite number. And then you write their name down in day 11. And then it's got these little boxes, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Because sometimes I don't know how to pray for people or what I should be praying. And so there's some simple things. Here's some pretty basic slice of pizzas that we all have in common. Home, friends, and school, right? Most of us have those three in common. And so I'm sure we all could use help walking with God in one of those slices. Or if there's another one, there's a blank one for a fourth one, and even a little sample thing of what to pray with each other. So these 2 pages are tools for you to begin to move from that typical friendship to that God-empowered friendship where you're praying with and for each other. But before we go any further, we're going to actually spend some time praying with and for each other. But in here, we're kind of too tight and too cramped. So we're going to actually move to a different spot to do this. Okay? So over where we've been eating our meals, right below it, there's like a empty conference room. So you know the deck that's out there? If you go down the steps of that deck, there's some doors where you can go in. I'm going to have all of us walk over there together. when you go in the rooms, there's going to be some people that are going to hand you little slips of paper that's got a verse on it. Go ahead, just take one. And then once you take one, go ahead and just have a seat on the floor in that room, and we'll go through the next steps of our instructions. Okay? You ready?